Only with true love and devotion does even relationships, they get better as they go further, Otherwise, if the ego stays there, the clouds move in and things just become heavy.
Yes.
I feel only when your first love is truth, you see, and then it will somehow invigorate the land, bring fresh growth, and the land will never be barren, But if all is in a relationship are two egos, it will not last. It will not last. Even with one ego, even with half a ego, even quarter ego, it will not last. It's on a countdown already. So I cannot say to people, if you want to have a relationship, then you better give up your ego. Because if you give up your ego, you don't need a relationship, although you may have one, and you'll move, and it will be included in other things in your life. Because it has a place also. Relationship is a very important tool in the growth or the unfolding of presence. No? We have a fear that if we give up our person, then there's nothing left to have a life. When you give a person, there's nothing left to have a life. There is just life. Your life. And you will never regret that. It's not that relationships are bad. Being with someone is bad. It's just that it's mostly bad because we mostly keep our egos. When you surrender your ego, and if you don't know how to do that, you have to come to Satsang fully in the heart. When you surrender your ego, you'll find that not just your relationship, all your relationships, and your relationship with the universe, with yourself, to yourself and to everyone, it just shines, it becomes bright, luminous with joy. It's something a person cannot do. Now more and more as we meet people who are really birthing into the true experience, they're telling you, but I couldn't do it, I can't do it, I could not do it. I, referring to the person or the ego, cannot do it. It was just a silly dream. I cannot do it. Yet it's being done. Then who does it? Now the Supreme, is unfolding as grace in your life. So I don't encourage people too much talking about their relationship, although we have to go a little bit along the way because that's what is the current and most pressing concern or something. But we find a way to bring it back to the really important things. Is first your relationship, if you want to say, with God, which in a sense you're going to come to find is not a relationship after all. It is a harmony, a unity, because you're not separate from God. This is the first great discovering. That is the all-inclusiveness, the all-encompassingness of God's love, of love. Because God's love, that's the only love actually. It expresses in many streams, and then somewhere along the line, we, who is God in form, uniform or something, then take it to be like a separated thing or a separate thing. But one does grow out of that. If you have an urge for truth, you do grow out of that. You grow back into your heart. You grow into your heart. And everything is... Your questions fall away, because they were really mostly for your mind, for the mind and the ego self. The righteous self is not troubled by many questions or doubts or things to solve, because the mind sees, that there are problems to solve, but the heart sees no problem, actually, to even dissolve. I mean, things work in a very different way. So this is the invitation of Satsang, of all the paths of truth, of true truth, is to invite you back into the emptiness, into your universality, and along the way you're falling upwards into greater and greater joy and peace and openness and just, just celebration, because you saw how much your life was not celebrated. I mean celebrated with drums and horns or something, but celebrated as joy and peace. This celebration is universal thing. It's not a festival. Good.